Are we filming? Yes, we are. So I want to show you some differences between these two Moleskine notebooks. They look the same, and I bought both of them in the same store here in the UK. Bought them at the same time today, but they are very, very different. And I just want to show you a difference which may be something that you're interested in. It's certainly interested me. So first of all, let's look at this. This is a grey one. It doesn't tell me the GSM or the number of pages, but neither does this one. But they look exactly the same. But I want to show you something. This had one of these quality control stickers, a grey one. Fair enough. And then what I did a pen test. So I took three pens. I took the Pilot G2 with the 1mm broad nib. I used a Parker IM with a fine nib and a Quink blue cartridge, and then here is a generic Chinese-made cheap fountain pen, piston fountain pen filled with diamine Sherwood green. So three pens, and here we go. I've just done a quick test, and this is the reveal, I guess. Let's have a look here. Let's zoom in and show you. So quite a lot of bleed through and ghosting, particularly the diamine ink doesn't seem to be very, very happy with this particular paper in this particular Moleskine notebook. I did the same test with this one. Now, when I bought it, it had a different quality control sticker. It had a blue one instead of a grey one. I have been told through the grapevine that this is a good sticker from a point of view of quality of paper. So let's have a look and see what the result was of an identical test. So again, I used these three pens: Pilot G2 gel pen, the diamine Sherwood green ink with a fine nib, and finally the Parker Quink cartridge in a Parker IM. So let's have a look. I'm just going to turn it over now and show you. So that's much improved, isn't it? There is some ghosting, as you can see, but hardly any bleed through. There's just the slight dots here where the ink from the Pilot G2 gel has seeped through the page, but almost nothing at all. Let's compare the two pages together, I think, just to see whether we can remind ourselves of the difference. So here we go. So that's one Moleskine, that's the other. One Moleskine and the other. And yet, even though the pages are even though the pages are very, very much very different in terms of the quality of the ink, the properties of the ink, in terms of being able to resist bleed through and ghosting, they came from the same store on the same day, exactly the same price, exactly the same shelf. In fact, these two were next to each other. So what's going on here? Well, I don't know. I'm not an expert, but clearly there is a massive difference, at least between these two books. So if I buy a Moleskine again, I would prefer to buy one that has better quality paper, obviously. The problem is, as we know, you can't tell what sort of quality paper you're going to get until you buy the book and take it home and open it. There are rumours floating around that which quality control stickers give an indication of the best quality paper, but that's difficult to do if, as in the case with these, they're sitting on the shelf wrapped in cellophane. But I've noticed there are 3 differences between these two, and it may be the case that I will be looking out for those differences in the future. First of all, the actual width. Although it's hard to see, I've measured these, and this one is 15 millimeters wide in thickness, and this is 14.5 millimeters. So this one is slightly wider. That might be an indication of a better quality paper. Secondly, although it's sometimes difficult to see in the glare of shop or store lights, so it might be worth taking these wrappers with you for future reference. The red book with the better quality paper has got a much brighter white wrapper, whereas this one is slightly cream. It's very, very difficult to see if it's on its own, but clearly when they're together, there's a difference in colour. So when I go to the store and buy my next Moleskine, I'm definitely going to take these wrappers with me so that I can, perhaps it might give me a clue as to which ones are worth buying with the better quality paper and which ones are best left alone. At least for me, my personal preference is for the paper that doesn't bleed, and it may be your preference too. And then finally, there is a difference in the, I'm just going to zoom in again and show you. So there's a difference in the construction. So the red book has a much neater construction. The corners are formed, so you can barely see the pleats. And yet here, it's more obvious. This is the one with the, what I would call the lower grade paper that tends to bleed through if you use fountain pen. So that is another indication that I will be looking for. It may be the case that this is just a one-off and you can't rely on this as an indication to the best paper, but at least there are three indicators that might be worth me looking at. And then finally, there's another one. If you can see that at the text block at the ends, the printing is much more prominent, at least at the ends, for the lower grade paper, whereas the higher grade paper, the printing, the lines on the end of the text block are less prominent. So that might be a clue as well. So maybe four indicators, maybe 4 clues as to what you're getting before you get to the checkout and hand over your money. That might be a good idea. It's interesting that there's such a stark difference. I couldn't believe it myself until I actually compared them. And I've been using Moleskines for years, but generally with a Pilot G2, so it doesn't matter so much. But recently I have been using more fountain pen, and I don't generally use a fountain pen in any of my Moleskines because they tend to be like this. I went through last night and had a look at all my Moleskines, and they were like this. I've not actually come across one that is as good as this before, but notwithstanding that, I'm going to be on the lookout for Moleskines with this kind of paper. I would obviously prefer this kind of paper to this kind of paper, if at all possible. I like the brands, but I don't like this bleed through. I'd rather have it with this kind of paper. So there we go. Hopefully that's useful to you. Thanks very much for watching, and goodbye.